On today's show, it's time to fill out the Mavs pre-yearbook. Who's the most underrated, the most overrated? Who's in the best position to succeed, the worst position to succeed? We'll fill out the chart on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have Kyrie.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform, leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. I'll drop a bunch of these. Most underrated, most overrated, best position to succeed. Go answer all of them in the YouTube comment section. Or go comment on Spotify. That's a thing you can do now. Go comment on Spotify. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Game time.
It's also time to tell you who's joining me from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, whose glasses and heart are full of love. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I love love. We love love.
Love is love. Is love.
That's right. I'm excited for this one, honestly.
This was a slightly biased suggestion, which is great. It's always great when you get a suggestion from the co-host. And yeah, we're filling out the chart, Mavs edition today. We're going through. If you've seen this chart, it's going all around social media right now. It's most underrated, most overrated, most potential, most athletic, a bunch of different things like that. And so it's basically like superlatives of the Mavericks right now. Yeah. We replaced a couple of them. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they felt mean.
For any of you chart purists, we replaced them. I also think that the ones that we picked are more interesting than the ones that we replaced. So let's get into it. First one here off the bat. The most underrated Maverick. When I start to think about the word underrated, to me, you have to start with who is being rated, right? Like who is being rated at the time? Who is, getting lauded way higher than maybe they should be? Who is a player that is overhyped or whatever. And I kind of start to think about, man, it's really hard to think of a Maverick right now, because I feel like at least for me, I know exactly where they all should fall in line. And I feel like they're all in a good spot. Where do you start with this one? This is a very hard one for me.
Well, it depends on if you want to view it most underrated within the fan base or most underrated just in general. I kind of view underrated. I've said this before, and I stand on it. My opinion, there's nobody in the NBA right now is underrated or overrated. It doesn't exist anymore. Like the way that NBA is discussed, every player has a StatMuse account. Every player has their own personal fan base. So there's no way you could be underrated or overrated. Everybody is both underrated and overrated at the same time, according to everybody on the internet. So I look
find that opinion. You can find that opinion anywhere. Yeah,
I mean, there is a hater and a lover for every player in the NBA, and I'm not joking. There is a StatMuse Twitter for every single player in the league. So shout out to Alex Fudge Muse. So I look at this as maybe most overlooked, and I think it's Naji Marshall would be mine pick.
The most underrated.
Yeah, maybe. Or
I like that one.
More overlooked.
I like that one.
I don't. I think.
That's the wrong guy.
I think that, like, I was reading this Bleacher Report article today, and they were saying the biggest question for the Mavs is, can they replace Derrick Jones Jr.? Like, that was the question. And, just full stop, I think Naji Marshall's just a better basketball player than Derrick Jones Jr. is, or was at least, especially entering the season last year. So I think that he's definitely been overlooked because he's not slated to be in the starting five.
Yeah.
So I think people don't view it as a Derrick Jones Jr. to Naji Marshall thing. You know what I mean?
He's flying under the radar, but he's somebody. As soon as it happened, as soon as he got signed, a bunch of my friends in the media or other NBA media people were like, "Oh, sneaky good signing for the Dallas Mavericks." Naji Marshall, he played a good role with the Pelicans, but he played 19 minutes a game on a playoff Pelicans team, and Derrick Jones Jr. was playing 14 minutes a game and not playing every game for the Chicago Bulls, who didn't make the playoffs last year before the Mavericks signed him. And I think Naji Marshall, he's kind of one of those players that like
I'm talented at everything, to be honest. I do it.
he is. He's kind of talented at a lot of different things. He can shoot, pass, and dribble. Where you're like, okay, maybe there's a little bit extra. I think he's going to be a player that we look at the end of the season and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize he could do all these different things. Where the Mavs have just had these wings that, and we kind of did this with PJ Washington, where all of a sudden he's posting up in the playoffs. All of a sudden he's taking advantage of smaller defenders and all that kind of stuff. And then you go, man, PJ can do a lot more things. He finally hit his corner threes in the playoffs. He can do a lot more things than we realize. And I think Naji Marshall's going to be in the same vein. And if the Mavs can get Luka, Kyrie, plus the two dirty work wings, PJ and Naji are doing extra things, and then Lively taking a step forward, I mean, that is a dangerous lineup that just falls exactly right into what the Mavericks want and what their system kind of sets up to like for success.
Yeah, and I mean it's a copycat league. It always has been, and that's just what the Celtics. I mean, it's the Celtics took 8 years of team building, but you look at their team and their lineups, and there's just everybody on the court can drive, everybody on the court can pass, everybody on the court can shoot, and it just everybody can defend multiple positions. And Naji Marshall is a player like that. So that's the Mavericks saying enough of the one-dimensional guys. Their whole Luka's entire tenure has been, we will fill out the roster with one-dimensional guys, basically. Like just stand in a corner and shoot and play defense. That's what you do. That's all you need to do with Luka. And I think they're quickly learning that that's not how you win in the NBA. Yeah, right. And with Naji Marshall, we'll talk about him a little bit later in the week, but I'm curious if the three-point shot is as good as it was last year. 38% last year was great. You'd love that, but he's been like a sub 30% three-point shooter in his career. The next one is most overrated. This one is a tough one. Who do you think we're rating a little bit too high? And it like you said, you can find any opinion on the internet. You can find any opinion that you want on the internet. And I kind of think that I might go Klay Thompson here. Whoa. Wait, by national media or by the fans?
Just by consensus, by everyone.
Okay. I couldn't. I was trying to.
Or Mavs fans. I feel like Mavs fans may be a little too high on Klay Thompson, think that he can do no wrong in the lineup. But then you have the people that are like, well, he was over 10, so he's trash. He's washed now. You go. Yeah. I go back and forth on it. Where do you go on this?
Well, mine just feels a little bit mean-spirited, but if we're just talking within Mavs fandom, it's Jaden Hardy. I mean, pretty comfortably for me. That feels hateful, but it's just because. Well, no, if you want, Klay's a little bit spicier. If you want to go the spicier route, because we
can do two. We can throw two up there. We have no rules. This is a Photoshop.
No,
this is a Photoshop thing. I can do anything you want on here.
That's true. I still get chats. I still get messages. Can Jaden Hardy be the Kyrie replacement in 2 years? It's like, no. Like that. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love him, and I hope, and I wish he discovers a role for himself in the NBA. But I still get those. Can he replace Kyrie when Kyrie leaves or retires or whatever?
Yeah, the Jaden Hardy experience, I mean, growth is not always linear. We did see some flashes in the Western Conference Finals and in the finals, and so maybe we're still waiting on some of those things to really pop out for him. But yeah, I think that if you're a person that's still waiting on him to replace Kyrie, you may be waiting a long time. My position for Klay is I think that we're overrating what he could be on the defensive end sometimes, because I am still worried about that, and I get pushback on that all the time, and I'm like, I'm not going to stop until I see it. He's going to be 35. The injuries could come back. I mean, there's all kinds of different issues that could pop up with this. And it's good that Naji Marshall is there, because I think he'll be able to replace him pretty easily. And I'd love to be wrong about Klay, but hey, here we are. Coming up, who on the Mavericks is in the best position to succeed next season? Who is in the worst position to succeed next season? Talk about all that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I used Game Time this weekend. I love using Game Time. You just go on the app, you figure out where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to see. There's all kinds of different options and things like that. Go check it out. See what's available on Game Time. They have concerts, comedy, theater, sporting events, bunch of things. Go check it out. They also have the all-in pricing. I love this because on some ticket sites, you go there and you say, oh man, this ticket is $50. And you get to the checkout and you go, that'll be $86, please. And you go, where did the other $26 come from? Game Time will tell you that. You have to toggle the all-in feature. So go to all-in pricing, toggle it, click it, enable it, whatever, and you see all of it up front. Everything you're going to pay up front. You get seats, views from your seats as well. Go check out that. They also have Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered. The most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off at Game Time. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's game time.
I need a recovery beer.
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out this show today. For your second listen, go listen to Locked On NBA. I was on there on Monday, so go listen to me and Jackson Gatlin, and I had a lot of fun. I'll tell you that. I had a dance party in the middle of it, and it was great fun. So go listen to Locked On NBA, make it your second listen. I'm also on there on Thursdays, so you can go listen to me on Monday and Thursday this week. I'm everywhere. I'm here with Slightly Biased. This is where I am right now. We're filling out the Mavs grid. We are well on our way to get through this.
I was just before the show started, Nick was like, "We're not gonna get this done in one episode." I was like, "I don't know, maybe we're 11 minutes in."
Third of the way through, and we have two spots out of 16. The best position to succeed for the Dallas Mavericks next season. I kind of want to go Klay Thompson too, but
really,
because I think that he's just gonna be able to stand in the corner and hit shots. Like I think that,
yeah.
But maybe it's Luka.
Okay,
could be Lively too.
I was gonna say just the centers, Lively and Gafford, are just in the best place you'd want to be if you're a rim running big. Like there's not a better place for a rim running big in the NBA than alongside Luka Doncic. Luka is a good one though too, because it's like, and by the way, this square was originally best, and we changed it because it just felt like, do we need to get into who the best player?
This is a better conversation.
Yeah, and this is the best supporting cast Luka's had, and he should have a field day, man. I worked on this thing where I've watched every assist of the season, this past season from Luka, and like the Derrick Jones Jr. threes and the Josh Green threes turning into Klay threes.
Oh,
it's pretty insane to think about.
It's a great spot. And so I think let's go with the centers, because I do think that the two centers are in a rare position where it's just, you do your job, you do your role, you both are really good at it. I wonder though if they're in the best position with the perimeter defenders, but yeah. I think that with the Mavs scheme, I think that they've showed to themselves that they can succeed, and they both played in the finals last season. Yeah. Worst position to succeed. Who on the Mavericks right now is kind of miscast or doesn't have a chance? To me, I'm looking at the Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum, and Spencer Dinwiddie trio. I think it's one of those three, because I think one of those three is getting completely axed from the rotation.
That's where I was going to go, is the sort of bench guards and figuring out which guy is going to end up not playing. And I think part of it, though, is like, Luka's prone to missing games. Kyrie's prone to missing games.
Sure.
Yeah, Exum's prone to missing games.
Yeah.
So the idea is we have this sort of excess of guards that are ready. And yeah, there's going to be guys when everyone's healthy that aren't playing, and that'll be interesting to see who that is. But that's what I was thinking too. And it's a testament to the roster building that it's not like a starter and it's like, oh, he's like really struggling to find his place on this team. It's, bench guys into bench guys.
I'm going to go with Exum here.
Ooh, you think Exum's the one?
I think he's just going to be pushed out, because I think what Hardy showed in the playoffs, as much as maybe some people overrate him, what he showed in the playoffs and what he showed against the Timberwolves and the Celtics is flashes. And I think the Mavericks would be much better to develop that, to push that forward, and to bring him along than to try the Dante Exum thing again. What if the Dante Exum thing works exactly the way it does in the regular season, where it works great, but then you go to the playoffs and he's just a non-factor again? I mean, can they afford that again? I don't know. Maybe with Dinwiddie they can.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Is Exum's playoff performance definitely doesn't leave you with a lot of confidence. And he played well for Australia, but in their quarterfinal game against Serbia, when it got tough in the second half and they needed buckets and the game slowed down, it was very similar to what we saw in the playoffs, where he just kind of wasn't involved at all and didn't seem like he wanted to be. In my brain, Exum is the guard off the bench, and Dinwiddie has to earn the spot, and Hardy has to earn the spot. But I definitely get where you're coming from. And I think you're probably right in the end. I think you're probably right.
It could be Hardy for sure. To me, Dinwiddie still plays almost every game and is in the rotation. I don't think he comes to the Mavericks unless he's put in that position, which just maybe.
I want to say I've changed my stance on that since it happened, and I said he'd get a bunch of DMPs. I've changed my stance on that.
We've got a lot more time for you to change your stance. Stance again until it goes through. Funniest player on the Mavs. Who do you go through and you're like, this guy cracks me up no matter what he says?
It's without a question, Luka.
I need a recovery beer.
We did one of these on stream where we did the whole NBA, and Luka was in consideration for just the funniest player in the entire league.
I think. Did you see the schedule release video with Lively?
Yo, you see
Lively's funny.
Lively going through and Lively doing the fake Jason Tatum copycat thing after the finals win was so funny to me. I may go with Lively here, but Luka, I mean, how could you go against it? I mean, just like this, I use this drop all the time, and people ask me, where did that come from?
My first shot, my first make.
That is Luka in like a Slovenia practice.
And Wario scream.
Yeah, he made like a half-court shot. And he's like, haha, I made the first one. Hilarious.
And beyond just like the jokes and stuff, just the on-court, the trash talk, it's hilarious.
The mocking other players or mocking the ref.
And he like blacks out because it just doesn't seem to be who he is at all off the court. I mean, he just turns into something else on the basketball court.
Okay, Beyonce has a persona, Sasha Fierce, right? There's Beyonce, and then on stage she's Sasha Fierce, right? Do we need Luka to have some kind of on-court? So when he gets a tech or goes nuts or it whines again, we go, oh, that's not Luka. That's
the Don.
Isn't the Don supposed to be a positive thing?
I don't know. His nicknames are too. I don't love any of the Luka nicknames.
Luka Magic.
Luka Magic's good, but
the one that some people tried to get going his rookie year that I was like, guys, we cannot, was the Matador. We cannot.
Yeah, the Matador was setting him up.
Defensively, we cannot.
The Matador was setting him up. I'd never liked that one.
I tried to do the Tim Riggins from Friday Night Lights and call him Sevens. He used to call it Jason Street 7. And I was like, Sevens is a pretty good. Nobody likes it.
It's funny looking at his Swaggy L. Never heard that.
Stop it.
It's on there.
Wonder Boy thinks that Kyrie is the MJ of this era.
Hey man, sometimes I want to know what goes on in these people's heads, man.
So maybe it should be Swaggy E, and the E stands for something you take.
Yes.
The biggest dog. I love this one. We switched this one with a different thing too. The biggest dog on the team, to me, is easily going to be Naji Marshall. I don't think that Mavs fans are prepared for how big of a dog Naji Marshall is, because he got ejected last year for fighting with Jimmy Butler. He will stand up to anyone.
I'm talented at everything, to be honest.
He's even talented at being a dog. That's my pick.
Like
we can add another one in there if you want to pick somebody else, but it's.
Well, I was thinking PJ. I was also thinking Luka has to be in consideration too. Fair. But I like the Naji Marshall shout. Let's go with Naji, the new face.
What if Naji gets? So he got most underrated top left, biggest dog second left. Is he going to get best rim defender and best role player? Just be like a bingo.
I see one that he might get.
Most potential. Is there somebody that quickly? Do you think there's somebody that has the most potential? It's got to be.
So well, is it not Luka? I don't know what does this really entail? To
me, potential is you can still your ceiling is higher. The ceiling is just so much higher where you're like, all right, I have so much more to go and so much more to reach. Yeah.
But then it'll be
like Kyrie has probably reached his ceiling, right? His Clay is probably on the way down, so he's not. You'd think that I think it's Lively, pretty.
Yeah, it's easily Lively for going that.
Any chance that Omax can get in there? Jared Dudley said he was Siakam-like in Summer League practice, and then he went out during Summer League and was not anything like Siakam.
I mean, I wish.
You know what? What you love more than anything is Jared Dudley quotes.
Just Summer League quotes in general. I actually think I'm done with the Summer League.
We should do a bit. We should do a bit where you stream from outside of Summer League. Like, you don't go in. You go in the arena, but you don't actually go into the courts. You just stand in the. You stand in the.
And it's unrelated to anything Summer League related.
Yeah, you do. We should do that bit coming up.
Elden Ring stream.
The bit we're gonna do next is who is the biggest boom or bust player for the Mavericks? Who's the most athletic? And to me, the most interesting one on the board. Best role player. We'll tell you who that is coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavericks is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds that you can use to get in on the action. You've heard us talk about FanDuel. It's the #1 sportsbook in America. If you're not in America, maybe the #1 sportsbook there. I have no idea how your laws work. Well, we have something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need to do is go to google.com, get a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get access to that. And while you're there, go check out all the other NBA stuff. They have the odds right now for the Dallas Mavericks' first game of the season. Have you looked at these slightly?
The odds for the first game of the season?
First game of the season, Mavs Spurs.
I'm gonna guess Mavs 5.5.
Mavs -8.
Whoa.
Giving them credit.
Big.
Giving them credit right
Yeah.
there. They go. It seems like they go pretty big. The Celtics are a 12.5-point favorite over the Hawks.
If you're betting on that right now, please call the number that is attached to this.
Hold on. Go check out fanduel.com/lockedon.
Sorry, FanDuel.
That's it. It's me versus the machines. The Matrix is taking over. That's it. They want us to be perfect. Basketball isn't perfect. It's beautiful.
Basketball isn't perfect. It's beautiful. That's right.
It is a beautiful sport.
Oh man. All right, Slightly. We're going through this grid. If you've seen it on social, we've talked all about, we've gone through, and a bunch of people have done this. Most boom or bust player next season. The player that could either have incredible impact on the Dallas Mavericks or just completely bust. And it's like, oh my gosh, why did this guy even, this is hurting the Mavericks that he's part of it. There's a couple ways you can go here. We can go a couple ways here. I think Klay Thompson could be part of this.
That's right.
Because I think the boom for Klay Thompson would be amazing, which I still believe in Klay Thompson. I think you could go Spencer Dinwiddie with this too, where he comes in and, oh my God, he could be sixth man for the Mavericks. Oh, that, coming off the bench, scoring, whatever, he replaces the scoring that we lost with Tim or whatever, and be able to dribble and all that, and be able to play make. And if he starts working with the bigs, then all of a sudden, man, it just works really well. He's the third ball handler the Mavs desperately needed in the playoffs last year. You could go, I don't think you can go Kyrie here or Luka. I think you just know what you're going to get from those guys. And everybody else is kind of like, everybody else feels like they kind of fall in line. Who else could boom enough that it would even impact?
Hardy could be a name, because year 3, if Hardy kind of busts, it's just kind of like, all right, I don't know if this guy is like an NBA player. But I think Klay is the answer because it feels the most consequential. Like what you described with Spence is 100% true, but that was a vet men signing. Like,
yeah, there's not enough. And then
Spence doesn't work out. It's whatever.
And one of the things reason why we put Exum in worst position to succeed is he's fighting for minutes with Dinwiddie and Hardy. So if Dinwiddie doesn't work, you do still have Exum and Hardy. They're not going to give you exactly what you hope Spencer Dinwiddie can give you, but yeah, the bust is not as big as if. Well, but even with Klay, if it busts for Klay, then they still have Naji Marshall to replace him. It's not like but that just goes to the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, depth. I mean, the depth is depthy. It's looking good.
It is depthy. It looks good. But then on the flip side, if Klay booms and like is 42% from 3 on 8 attempts a game, like that is the Mavs will have the best offense in the league. So it's I think it fits the profile.
Yeah, let's go with Klay here. The best passer is very simple.
Maybe the best passer. God, I referencing this thing I did where I watched every Luka assist. I don't know if I've ever seen a player in the NBA have a deeper passing bag. I mean, he makes every pass.
Then who?
Then Luka. Luka Doncic.
Best passer on the team by far. Probably the best passer in the NBA. I mean, you could.
It's just crazy what he does.
I think he's a better passer than Jokic. Sorry, Jokic. You're just taller.
I think so too.
Best perimeter defender. Naji's probably going to get this.
Okay.
Quentin Grimes, I think, has a chance.
That's where I was going, actually.
And is there anyone else involved?
Unfortunately not. I don't think so.
No Omax?
But that's also because...
No Lively?
Lively would be crazy. But it's also because Naji and Quentin Grimes are very good perimeter defenders, though.
That's their thing. Like, that's they're about. Who are we picking?
Let's get Grimes on the board.
Look at that smile, man. He's
all
about it. He's ready to be back in Texas.
He's definitely deserves a shout for this.
Best rim defender, easy.
Yeah, easy.
The best or the most athletic. This is kind of a tough one. We can go a bunch of different ways with this.
It depends what.
It was very easy last year. It's Derrick Jones Jr.
Yes.
Like very easy.
Yes.
The Mavs now are like not really a speed, and Josh Green is gone too, which
I know.
You lost some speed. You lost some of the. I talked about Klay Thompson. He's going to make it easier for the Mavericks in transition because of his transition threes and all that. But the Mavs lost speed and lost those outlet guys you just chuck the ball up to. And so most athletic, there's not really one that bounced off the page. I did see a 7th grade Derek Lively dunking, and he shared that, and it's probably Derek Lively.
I was thinking Lively as well, just because he's 7 feet and he can do all that.
Is there a chance for AJ Lawson to throw his name into the hat here?
Oh, yeah.
We have not even mentioned Lawson yet.
Yeah, Lawson. Now, there is an argument where you could go, what exactly do you define as athleticism? Is it the highest jumper, or is it the mixture of balance, of core strength, of just strength in general? You can make a Luka argument.
To answer that question, I propose a question. Are esports sports?
Oh, what about poker?
My man is ranked in Overwatch. And also the dexterity and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you think that, could Kyrie be in here? Kyrie dunked more times than he ever has.
And it's again with what exactly do you
define
as athleticism?
Because
hand-eye coordination, balance, the de-acceleration, that's one of the things that Kyrie does at an elite level. Luka does it too. So yeah, it really depends. But I mean, we'll get AJ on the board. We're putting AJ on there. I feel good about putting AJ on there. Are you feeling bad about any of the ones we've done so far? Are you feeling any regrets? No. I regret putting Klay on the most overrated just because no one's going to listen to the context when they see this on Instagram or Twitter. But that's spicy. That's you want to know okay, just real quick. Whenever I did this, I just did Mavs history and I put Brunson on the overrated. Yeah, that's a good one. Because he was maybe underrated when he was here, but his time with the Mavs has become overrated as time has passed. That was my context. It's true. It's very, very true. And I love him to death. But I want to finish this conversation, and so we'll do it. We'll do a bonus where we finish the conversation with best role player, because I think there's a lot of talk there's a conversation there that we can have about best role player. So check back for that video. We'll do one more thing where we talk about that, and then slightly be back later in the week to talk about the players we're most interested in this season. So guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs, checking out the show. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. I think I'll be back with either Slightly or Noah Weber from Smoking Cuban. Great stuff this week. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.